hand hurts. can pull us through. I love you more than you ever knew. I'll pull the threads back to start, but there's just no soul and meaning left in my heart. Skin so thin you can see I'm not whole. Holy shit. Maybe money will fix my life, making love and making me cry. I loved you more than you ever knew. I hope you love me too. What is love on a pale blue dot? I'm in hell, magic is thought. The point of love, what is not? Who cares? It's all for us to be happy in the fucking circus. I heard they have a seal, so make a deal. Happy in the fucking circus. Wrap my shame around my heart. It's so tight I fell apart. There's only so much that my will can pull us through. Loved you more than you ever knew. I'll pull the threads back to start, but there's just no meaning left in my soul. Skin so thin you can see I'm not whole. Holy shit. I wrap my shame around my heart. It pulled so tight I fell apart. There's only so much that my will can't pull us through. I love you more than you ever knew. I wrap my shame around my heart. It pulled so tight I fell apart. There's only so much that my will can't pull us through. I love you more than you ever knew. I pull the threads back to start. There's no meaning left in my heart. Skin so thin you can tell I'm not. Holy shit. I stole that rhythm. Great job. So I am thinking about the castle in the Mara saga is when I write of it, I'm thinking about this castle that I've built maybe 3 or 4 times in Minecraft. This is the next to biggest version of it I've ever built, but it's also not the most complete by any means. It consists of a central tower surrounded by 4 shorter towers, and on this version it has another 4 towers beyond those, connected by walkways and even a higher walkway, and beyond that a giant wall. And this is built over an ocean, so you have a giant dock where you trade goods. And this gold piece here, this copper piece, that would eventually be a giant door that opens to the city.
This particular version of this castle has a train track that literally runs over the entire course, the perimeter, every bridge, every walkway, all of it. And the specific details of this map aren't exactly what I'm going to write about, but the general design is there. Um, Things like the entrance to the main tower is, once you get in the city, there are stairs that lead to an underwater uh, a floodable bridge that allows you to you can drown intruders by opening up the top of the bridge. Um, and then there's an aquatic graveyard somewhere around. Every tower has their own purpose. Yeah, this is the graveyard. And I liked this version of what a graveyard could be in an aquatic city. Each of these pillars would be a tombstone with names written on them, and then you have your mausoleums like this. And I just think there's something charming about that. So you can imagine the residents here moving around by boat primarily, or by cart on these giant lofty bridges, and there's more underwater tunnels there, and it really is sort of like a fully functioning kingdom. And like here we have a giant library, and we have secret rooms hidden throughout. This is one of those secret rooms there that you'd have to know how to get into from the library. So yeah, this is probably the fourth or fifth iteration I've made of this particular castle map, and this was supposed to be the most functioning. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Sometimes it can be hard to get myself to work on things. And unfortunately, you just have to treat it like a job. You have to treat it like a job. Schedule a time for you to do it and just do it. Even if you don't want to, usually if you start, you get into it. So what I'm going to do now, I started with the story outline, and then I had all these bulletin points of what I wanted in that chapter. And now, and then I wrote it down onto my laptop. And now I'm going to kind of do the reverse. I'm going to take that first chapter and I'm going to put new cards up, and I'm going to expand that idea. I'm going to take all those bulletins, I'm going to write them down. I'm going to just throw out ideas that I want to see in this story, in this chapter, and I'm going to build it, and I'm going to rearrange them until I get an idea of how this story is going to be arranged. Looking at the overall story arc that I've laid out, I don't think that this could possibly be one film or one book. So I'm going to try to make a trilogy, which means each of these little chapter bulletins has to be a lot longer. And to be honest, I don't really know what that story looks like. Um, I don't really know the flow of it. So yeah, this is my brainstorming method, and this will lead to my first, hopefully, storyboard. Well, actually, no, I guess it won't. I guess I hope that it'll lead to my first writing of a chapter. Um, then I'll divide the projects as so. And around the time that I hit the in between, the middle, I think I want to throw in one more live action film to tie off the para verse, as it were, with me in it, to kind of, because I've been in all of my other live adaptations, so I think it only right. Um, and it would be fun and a fun way to send it off, because I've been doing this since I was 18, so to kind of send off that project with one more live appearance, and then we can do the books, and if I'm allowed, or able to do an animated film, I think that would be just awesome, and it would kind of tie it all together. Uh, but I feel like lately I've been focusing so much on the idea of growth, the idea of not being stagnant. Um, I've been painting for such a long time. I haven't really done music in a serious way uh, in a long time. I haven't done film since 2016, and I just feel like there needs to be a natural progression. So I can't say just being a painter. I could, but understanding that I'm relegating myself to a hobbyist, there's no reason to only do that. If I were trying to be a professional painter, and I thought I could become like a famous painter or something, or make my living that way solely, then sure, I would make myself stick to painting. But because I don't think that's in my reach, I don't see a reason to not allow myself to wander and explore into other mediums as I see fit. Um, and film is something that I think that, animation specifically, I think would cause me to grow. Okay, so let's get started. I do have conceptual art to aid in this. Mariana Cross. I would normally put the paper up, but when I do that, it fucks the tape. So I'm going to try to do this without it. And if it gets visually weird, then I'm sorry. This is a drawing of the main character who becomes our Vampiress before they transition. This is Queen Mara, tentatively. I don't know. I kind of doubt myself a little bit with this project, because I've never been a great writer. I don't really know a lot about the writing world and how to be a novelist. And I have never seriously worked in film. Not like I, have with art, with painting. So it does scare me a little bit to dive into a project that I have so little experience in. But I think that's what makes it interesting for me. To make it good has gotten in my way. Maybe that's a flaw in artists. Maybe we should learn to never care what other people think. David Bowie once said that artists do their worst work when they're making it for someone else. And you can take that into so many contexts. Maybe that's what he means by this. Maybe I shouldn't care, and maybe I should learn to have that confidence again. All right, so dismissed by mom. That's going to be an early card for sure. I don't know where that goes. I don't know where any of this goes. That's why we're here. Almost killed by uncle. When I was a kid, when I was writing the para, I didn't need to do this. This is a much more drawn out version of my process. When I was younger, I would just sit down and started writing. I wasn't afraid to just BS it to see what would happen, because I knew that the film was going to be kind of like where, I knew that I would kind of just figure it out as I went, and I would get on tangents of writing, and it would just come, and I think that's amazing. But the reason I'm not doing that now is when I would do that, I would go off on wild tangents, and sometimes the story would change so much from where I started, and sometimes that made it hard to keep up with all the different things that I was trying to do. So in a way, this is a way for me to have it be a little less hot and fast, because I know that, first of all, I don't feel like I have the right stuff to just sit down and start. I feel like I need just a little bit clearer of an image. Because I believe, and I haven't looked at my laptop, but the first book incorporates childhood, you have to make time. You have to make time for your projects. If you don't make time for your projects, you won't do them. You're not going to want to start, so you have to make yourself. And once you get started, once you put a little bit of work into it, you'll get motivated. And then you'll want to do it. But you have to start from a place of not wanting to do it. Childhood time, there's the childhood time, and then there's the young adult, married, well, I guess vampire. Now this is where it's going to get hard for me, because I'm not actually sure how I'm going to play all this out, and how I'm going to chop it up into stories. As one continuous timeline, it makes perfect sense. But if you're looking at it as a series of stories, if I need to break this up into books or film, I have to have an arc to each of them. Now I know in the timeline that I wrote here, this part changes a lot, but this is pretty much the same. I actually elaborated more here. This is daunting. Yeah, I actually added a lot to this, but the cadence is the same. And all of this, the whole first few chapters, Toby is born. So this is after Mara and Fox take the flesh of the children of the high priestess. I'm conflicted, because I could have the first story end after her kingdom falls, but that's so early Because if her kingdom falls, she still has to meet the high priestess. She still has to create Fox. Toby's still born. The events of Para, the events of So Above. And then the whole conflict that causes all of them to split up. And then the godfish. And this is really the middle of the true story. Like, this is my Empire Strikes Back, this section. This is where all the meat is. Because this is just setup. This is telling you who this character is, their natural death, them making the deal with the demon, them taking over a kingdom. You know, that's the backstory to who this person is. And this is the end of who this person is. And but also, if I really wanted to, I could go back and write Para and So Above as its own story. And somehow I want to fit one more live action film, and I thought I would do it here. I'm not sure how I want to put that in. This section talks about Toby growing up in an orphanage. It talks about Mara living in the dream world perfectly and then becoming this evil thing and creating the Seraphim. Maybe I could tell an unrelated story about seraphims and the resistance. Yeah. It could just take place in that world. Or I could tell a story in the last part where the dream things and the dead things are coming into our world. That could be a lot of fun. While locked in room. And when they get out, they're seen playing music in the woods. Flute, actually. It's important for later. His dad beats him with whips. I think that's important too. And then the young adult timeline, you've got getting roughed up by guards, maybe for stealing, kind of a bit of Aladdin there. I don't know. We'll see. Crawling out of a woman's window because he's kind of a scamp, right? He's flirting with a bunch of different, people. He's young. He's in his late teens, early 20s. It's essentially it's almost my life story, because that's how I was. I had like a really weird upbringing. I never got like beaten or anything like that by my dad. I will say that I was not dismissed by my mother, but I don't think she looked at me very highly when I was growing up. And she wasn't around because she was working all the time to make ends meet, so I ended up being mostly cared for by my great grandparents. So there's a little bit of truth in that. And then my uncle was the one that kind of more or less bullied me when I was growing up. He would throw trash can lids at me and put me in bags and stuff, and like scare me and mock me and make fun of me. And he had, as I got older, he definitely did kind of fuck me up and beat me up a little bit sometimes. So, but there is truth to that. And I was certainly never locked in my room for months, but I did spend a lot of time alone. So this is like an exaggerated form of all that. And then this young adult timeline is pretty much me. I get out of my closet. I wasn't homeless, but I traveled, all the time. I didn't really live anywhere in my late teens, early 20s. I never lived in the woods, but I might as well had. I had like thousands of bonfires, and I traveled to Charleston and to Baltimore and to all these different places. And I definitely spent a lot of my time in the city. I would walk everywhere, and I had a lot of partners. And then this is the part that I'm about to build right now, and there's a bit of a subplot that I'm about to add in, I think. And it's just to give it some depth, because I do have to flush this out. But, so this person, he's living in the woods, he's playing music, he's being kind of a hippie, he's fucking everybody, having a good old time, definitely is disowned by his parents. And he meets his wife at some point. So meets wife, married, asked to man up, which happened to me. I dated someone for a long time that I didn't really want to, and they told me I needed to man up. I told them that I might be trans. I even had the trans tattoo put on me, and they told me that I'd make an ugly woman into man up. So similarly, that's happening here, except I think he wants it. And they get a loft somewhere, maybe in the city, and he starts working as a cook, which is my life. And then there's this really sexy part where he licks her nipples in a bathtub, which happened to me not long ago. This is Sleeps with Men and Women. That goes in the young adult timeline. Because I kind of want to set up, I don't want you to be surprised when they decide to become a woman. In fact, I need to write down ugly woman so I know to write a scene where she tells him that she'd be an ugly woman. To take over, something along those lines. And that war causes them to overtax, causes the food to be scarce. And that's what inevitably leads to his wife dying for himself and kind of enjoy life. But then he meets somebody, and he kind of gets caught in that thing that we all do, where he has to kind of, become an adult, but he's still trying to rationalize that with who he is. And Yeah. And then, you know, takes over a neighboring kingdom, has many concubines. Cross statue. Big parties, masquerades. Meets new wife. Orgies. Paints and fucks all day. Body painting. Parties take over more of world. General. If I should lay out the next story arc this way, or if I should immediately start diving into these and flushing them out a little bit more. While I was driving, I did think of some things I could add to the war scenes and the aftermath to kind of flush out what that looks like. The thing is that I'm a visual artist. So to me, it's all images. You know, I see bodies in trenches. I say bodies in trenches. I don't know how the literary world works very much. Like, I'm not sure how much this card will take up in time in a book. I'm not sure what constitutes a scene. Because in a movie, you know, I don't know. I'm not a professional filmmaker, so I don't know if it's a scene to just, you know, where does one scene end and another begin? Does us showing, you know, an overview of the city, and then it cuts from that to somebody walking down the street, is all that one scene, or is that two scenes? I don't know. So, like, I'm not sure how to break that down. And I don't know how much of this I want to illustrate here and how much I want to just do it there. I know the more I do it here, the better that will be. We open sunrise. It's, you know, like he's probably 8 years old. He's drawing, he's whittling, he's hanging out with kids. They're talking about monsters because they're little kids and they get scared. The parents are actually concerned about this cow thing. And we've hinted at alcoholism. Next thing, they go to town. Carriage, ride home. And talk. Ask some what to say. Beat to the cat. Dismiss my mom. Yeah, right, sleep. Done. Okay, so this is the outline for their childhood. This is the outline for their young adultness, all the way through their marriage and into them becoming a vampire and the fall of the city. And it stops when they're at a high point, and then this is the continuation. This is when they're queen vampire, all the way up to their fall. This is all the characters in those 3 sections. There's 42, or at least that's all I can count at the moment. This is the general outline for the entire saga. So all of this is an expansion, a detailed version of from here to there. Done this, and I've outlined all that. The next step, I think, is I want to start designing what these characters look like. I want to start coming up with concept art for the people in the first half of the story up here, and then I want to come up with their names. And once I get a good idea of what these people look like and what they're called, then I want to start doing a rough draft of this story. And once I have that rough draft, I guess then I might start outlining the next. My goal is to have a rough draft of the whole saga and then go over it. And then I would like to find another writer to help me flush it out and to act as an editor and to help me finalize it. But I want to have a rough draft for the whole thing before I hand it in. So.
Course of 1 hour or 1 week. It doesn't matter if she moved locations, if she went from her house to her job, to the grocery store, to the moon. If she feels the same at the end of the scene, she hasn't learned anything, she hasn't had a win or
The misty mountain morning, the blue haze and cold dew graces grass so beautifully beneath pine trees tall in the landscape. Just above the fog, is perched a young boy, his name Alician Carmigan. I just finished a 13-hour writing session. Oh, I overslept didn't go into my job, probably lost it. Got a new job, and then wrote for the whole day. I stopped to cook, that was it. I just got up to chapter 5, and I wrote all this, except this part got a little fuzzy. Some parts I changed. Believe it or not, all of this one thing right here is 5 chapters. I don't know what to do now. All I can think about is this book. Okay, so it's day, I don't know, 3 or 4 of actual writing. And I was Googling it, and the average novel is considered to be 60,000 words or more. On the low end, the normal end is 80,000 words, and the maximum cap off, I think they said, is like 120,000 words. The average chapter is 3 to 5 pages, which seems small, but that's cool. I'm actually hitting that mark. With 5 chapters coming in around 21 pages. I am a little worried that it's going to run short for the book that I've outlined, because I've got the whole saga, and I've made this much of it what I think will be the first book. But if I'm coming in at 60 or 50,000 words or less, then I'll extend it to be more of the whole saga, you know. It would be kind of cool if I could fit the whole saga into one book, or maybe 2. I think that would just be the bee's knees. Also, I've been working on, so I'm writing all this out in notes on Google, and everybody's name is very specific and thought out. So, like Caesar's wife, his name is Ayla, which is angel in Greek, and then you've got Sada, blessed and loved, and that's from Saudi Arabia. And then you have like Luthias, which is the general's name, and that comes from Scottish. And I've written all this out on here. It took a long time. So like Death's name is Dubria Abaddon, which Dubria means angel of death, and its origins are unknown, and it's a genderless name, which I think is just really cool, because like, I think those kinds of characters would be sort of genderless. And then Abaddon means destruction, and it comes from Hebrew. And then Arluin is Germanic and means friend, and that is literally Caesar's friend, or Caesar's. And then, let me see. And then Luitu is a female demon in origin. It's where they think the incubus and succubus myths come from, and it comes back from Mesopotamia, which is super duper old, and it literally means night horse, like nightmare. And then my favorite one is Caesar's transitioned name, which is Marit Callista Arachne, or Marit, or it's almost Mariette, which would be awfully unrice of me, but it's Marit, meaning nightmare in Nordic. The Mara is a demon who sits on people's chests and brings them nightmares, right? And then Callista, meaning most beautiful, comes from Greek and Roman, and Arachne, meaning spider in Greek. So her name literally means Nightmare's most beautiful spider, which I think is just my favorite thing.
Paint the scene so that the dialogue is not just talking heads back and forth. So there you go, common format dialogue, basics, fiction writing 101. Hope you like this video. If you do, subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a lot more on the page, actual live writing exercises like this.
I picked up a 0 milligram vape. I'm not doing nicotine, but I thought it might help me concentrate. The jury is yet to decide whether or not that was the stupidest thing I've done in a long time. I'm not saying my writing is very good. In fact, historically I'm a horrible writer. I have horrible grammar and horrible spelling. But I like to tell a tale. And the thing that I find the most interesting in my process is that it's like a trance. I get lost in it. I can't tell how much time is going by. It just got dark on me. I was like, wow, I can't believe it's dark already. It almost feels like you're hallucinating. And sometimes it feels like the characters are writing themselves. It's really cool, and I enjoy it a lot. I'm definitely hyperfixating on it, and I don't, again, I don't know if it'll be any good to anybody else, but I've certainly enjoyed writing it, and oh, I am vastly concerned.
7.
Something else I did yesterday was the High Priestess from So Above is in this story, and I found a really cool name in Native American, which is Meta, which is really cool since her character is, coming over from a different story. It's kind of meta, and then meta, and I really wanted to have a Native American name represented in the names list in this story, so that makes me super happy.
Pride is the operative word.
But maybe you're the one person she still feels she can trust.
But